there wasn't any opportunity like there is now where you can take Ethereum, do stuff with it, and have more Ethereum. Like that's generally what people in the NFT space are doing. They're trying to make ETH. Most tokens aren't launched legally, and I think that will be a big problem for projects as well, because like I've said earlier, the team is the important bit. You know, pretty much the outside image of your NFT project right now is all about Twitter, and this is just a very powerful way to get your community interacting more on Twitter. Every community with this would interact more.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to another show, another episode on the Tokenized Show. I'm your host, Valerio. I'm here with Conrad. What's up, Conrad?
Hi, hello.
And I'm very happy for today's episode because today's guest is a OG. He's been into the NFT space since 4 years now, since 2017. And he's the founder of Penelope's Country Club. What's up, James? What's up, Carlini? Thank you so much for taking the time and joining us today.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
I'm super happy to have you, man, and to talk about your background and about your current project and about your general view on Web3. So to get started, Carlini, can you give us a short introduction for anyone who doesn't know you yet that well? Who are you and what do you do right now?
Yeah, sure. So Carlini8, I've been in NFTs since 2017. Crypto, I'm not actually sure because I mined very briefly some Bitcoin, and all I know is I did it in my old house, which I lived in 2013 to 2015, and that hard drive is a few wipes ago. And I kind of got trolled out of mining Bitcoin because I was told, "Oh, you're a millionaire yet?" And then I checked, like overnight, I'd mined 4p worth of Bitcoin at the time, or something like that.
What's
Just
4p?
4 pence, probably about 6 cents.
You mined 6 cents worth of Bitcoin
Overnight, like every night, I guess.
Oh, all
so right. I use my gaming PC to mine, and it was when I wasn't using it. You know, it's just like idly mining overnight.
Yeah.
And it was not very powerful, so it didn't do much, and it was probably at the time costing me money and electricity. But that hard drive was wiped many times, and it wouldn't have been much. And then 2015 is when my smaller purchases started happening in crypto, and I was mainly when I started getting bigger buys, I was mainly interested in ETH, just because I like that you can do stuff. Like, you know, Bitcoin's great for starting all of this and for what it represents and what it can do monetarily, but that didn't really interest me and never brought me in. It was more the utility, I guess, of Ethereum that just hooked me in, and full blown degen since 2017, pretty much.
All right. So what are you doing at the moment?
So currently I run Penelope's Country Club. It's a 10K PFP NFT project, but we're just trying to, I guess, do it right. So I've been in NFTs pretty much since, you know, they went mainstream. There are a couple projects before I came in, but certainly not many people. So I've seen how NFTs have changed and where we expect them to go. And back in 2017, we had where we expected them to go, and we've sort of seen how we've progressed towards that. And I just want to sort of utilize the technology with a project as best as possible, which I guess our main current utility we have that shows that off is our ENS subdomains, where each cat is able to claim a .pcc.eth domain for free, which is just like an ENS domain, but instead of .eth, you get .pcc.eth, but it's also free because you get it from us, who have paid for pcc.eth. And that becomes your wallet, and it can turn your username into a profile picture, and just even little things like I can't search for all of the users on Twitter who have a Penelope's Country Club profile picture, but I can search .pcc.eth, go click on people, and it shows me everyone that has that in their name. So we've actually got something coming that sort of links that to Discord as well, and that will just be showing even more so how this can be pushed, because you've effectively got your digital identity linked over Ethereum, Twitter, and Discord, and we can do lots of things once that's all linked up.
Yep.
And can you link your NFT to any social media profile like Facebook, Instagram, and so on, or are you limited by something?
Well, when I say linked, that's centralized, I guess. So that's not on Ethereum. That's with a bot. We're able to search using the Twitter API, the Discord API, and then Ethereum to check the subdomain. So for what we're planning to do, you could probably do the same for Instagram and Facebook, but it would just be integrating with their APIs.
All right, makes sense.
All right. When did you guys start with PCC, with the project?
We started building it towards the end of March last year. So we started over a year ago now, but I think we started minted in June.
All right. How did the launch go? How did the mint go?
It was slow because at the time we were completely anonymous. Because I was working for NFT Boxes before. I'd started NFT Boxes with my co-founder Pranksy, December 2020, and I ended up in March selling my half of NFT Boxes to him. But there was lots of sort of legal loopholes we had to jump through, and all these sort of things. So it ended up taking maybe 4 months to sort that out, and I didn't think it was right to. People at the time thought I was working on NFT Boxes, and we couldn't tell them why I wasn't, or that I wasn't. So it didn't seem right that we were like, hey, I'm launching this as well. So we were anonymous until the sale was confirmed. And as soon as the NFT Boxes sale was confirmed, we unanoned as a team, said, hey, this is us. And we sold out in a couple of hours.
And how did you initially come up with an idea of PCC? Was it your own idea, or did you have a team? Because obviously,
So there was
you've been...
Sorry,
go on. Oh, no, go on.
So there were a team of 3 of us at the start. One who had come from NFT Boxes with me, the community manager, who was part-time but wanted sort of a full-time stable job, because this was, I guess, not bang in the middle of lockdowns and COVID, but they were sort of coming back. It was January to March 2021, bit unstable, and just wanted to be locked down in a solid job. So that wasn't something I could offer at NFT Boxes. Someone else who I was going to bring over to NFT Boxes to sort of sort that side of things out as well, who I'd got to quit a job, brought him with me. So it was us 3, and we originally had a couple of ideas on what we wanted to do. Was take my side of NFT Boxes. I worked with the community and sort of made the things work, I guess, like the website and the contracts. I'd find the right people for that, and we wanted to make sure it was community focused. And our original idea was sort of to try and help creators. Like, you guys have a podcast, we would come in with some sort of NFT rewards that would kind of build in Patreon or Twitch subscriptions. You know how Twitch, there are badges after 6 months and a year and 2 and 3 years. Why aren't they NFTs? So we're going to go down that line. And I told these 2 guys, like, I'll fund it for a year and we'll see where we are. and we were sort of going down that route. And then someone said, "How are we going to make money?" I was like, "I don't know. Hopefully find it." He said, "At the end of the year, what happens? Do I have to find a job?" I'll be like, "Oh, probably, unless we've got VC funding or get bought out or something like that." And he's like, "I want to make money. I want this to be a job. And by I want to make money, that's more, I want there to be a salary for me."
Yep.
So we just looked, the meta at the time was 10K PFP, and then we sort of amended our plans like, right, how can we take the 10K PFP and push that towards community and sort of, in effect, doing it right. And you can see sort of on chain how we've spent the Ethereum from the original sale, most of which went into a kitty vault now worth over 1,000 Ethereum, which is 200 Ethereum more than our whole sale. So we've sort of created this community pot that's bigger than all of the money we've taken in, which sort of just shows it's not a mint and make us rich, it's a mint and build for the community.
Wow. All right, I understand. Previously, you mentioned your launch, right? Your initial launch was in May last year, right?
I'm kind of guessing. With a couple of seconds, and go to our it was 269 days ago.
Wow, almost a year, right? Almost.
When was 269 days ago? Please help me. It was 17th of July.
17th of July. All right.
And how quickly did you sell out?
Yep.
It took about a month, I'd say. So it was just very slowly minting until I was able to, because I was originally Top Cat. Top Cat was running the project, and then as soon as Carlini8 was running the project, it minted out in a few hours. I think it was about a month between those times.
All right. What do you mean by running the project? What did you do differently than Top Cat?
I was just called Top Cat. I couldn't be me. I couldn't.
Oh.
It's about the anonymity and the public name, I guess.
All right.
But
so people knew they weren't going to get, well, they don't know they're not going to get rugged, but quite a high chance that, my main wallet has 16,000 transactions. It's been there 1,400 days or something like that. And not once in that time have I scammed anyone. So at that point,
Interesting.
people feel quite confident.
How many pieces did you sell before you announced that you are you?
Maybe 2,000.
Okay, because my question is that at that time there were a lot of profile pic projects where a lot of them had an anonymous team. And how did you manage the community to like stay organized? Because I've been on many Discord during the time, and if a project didn't sell out in like a day or two, people were just panicking all over the place and claiming that it's a total scam.
I think how that plays out is generally, how do you get the community in the first place? So like I said, we were trying to do it right. So we weren't paying people to promote us. We weren't paying for tweets. We weren't, sneakily underhand, well, maybe not even underhand, but giving these alpha groups, couple of ETH, like, hey, you start minting, we'll give you this ETH and that ETH, you'll get everything half price or whatever. They start minting, sets off some alerts, other people start minting. Some projects even mint their own NFTs. They just, you get a few hundred ETH, mint a few thousand yourself, sets off the alerts yourself, away you go. You're just giving yourself money effectively at that point with a little bit of gas fees. Oh well. So we were just totally, I guess, upfront, not paying for hype. And I've seen quite a lot of people trying to do it, that way and struggle. If you don't follow the meta of the time, you will find it hard in this space, because there are some excellent marketers that have come into this space, and the problem is that's really where their talents lie. Maybe one or two people on the team are just really good at creating the hype and marketing, but then there's no one to execute once it's minted, and we're just seeing so many projects. I think a couple of months ago I looked back at a certain day last year. I think it was the day, it was a year before, and there were these calendar projects that used to just put out, here are today's mints, and I just looked at every project, and two were still active, ish. One, I kind of ignored art blocks because there was an art blocks mint that day, and in reality that's just art, and art blocks is a platform. But everything else, there was maybe 9 or 10 projects that hadn't tweeted this year. There was no Discord activity. Maybe half of them, their websites were deleted. But the one year renewal of their website hadn't been continued.
All right.
So what makes it project being like long term? Because I would say that if you're running it for a year now, we can call it a success, because as you said, like you've seen many projects starting the same day and just dying out. So how do you survive for this market, which is, I wouldn't say saturated, but there are a lot of new projects coming in every day, and there's huge noise in the space.
It is the team at the end of the day, because if the team keep building, that project is still alive. There may not be many holders. The floor may be basically zero, but when they can tweet something like, we've been here 2 years building, we've done this, that, and the other, the only problems can come down to their funding. If they just end up having to, if they just got to go get a job because this project isn't paying them or whatever. But as long as the team are going to stay around, there's always a chance, right? So the projects where the teams leave, they're done. They just can't be revived. There's no reason. I know they're NFTs, and anyone can spin up a site and build a game around that NFT. They've said that since the CryptoKitties days. It was like, they even back then they tried to pay people to build on top of CryptoKitties. Very small amounts compared to now, because the money involved in crypto was so much lower then. But it just never works, because why would anyone put in a lot of effort for someone else's product when, if they're going to build something, they could just sell their own avatars or land or whatever it is that works within the game, card games. And it's just very tricky to make that work. So really the lifeblood of every NFT project that's running like a business, because there will of course be art, artists aren't expected to do, make a game or anything like that. They just keep creating art, and it's very much its own category. But I'm talking about the projects that should be run as a company. If the team keep going, they can always build a community around it. It's harder. It's always easiest at mint, because you get in, you build up that hype because mint is coming. But the rugs will be when a team member leaves. When the team leaves, it's just done at this period in time. Maybe maybe in 5 years' time, maybe even less, we'll see time where a community really has built up around a project, and they can survive without a team.
All right.
But we're not there yet.
And even if the team like comes back like a couple of weeks after, because that's what we're seeing with some of the projects that started like this year, 2022, that the team is gone, and then like a month later, like the founders is saying on Twitter, "Hello guys, I'm back. Let's do it again." But I guess it's not the same anymore, right?
And I'm sure that definitely has nothing to do with the guys who have gone to prison for a few years for effectively just straight rugging. So, if we quickly go back now, maybe they won't think we rugged them and we were just incompetent. That's all.
It's true that he announced his comeback like a couple of days afterwards.
Yeah.
It was fun. But what exactly do you mean by keeping a project alive? What do you mean by building? How do you keep a project alive? That's the main question. Do you focus on providing value in some way, providing utility on a long-term basis constantly, or how do you keep a project alive?
And I want to add something, because usually when you start a project, you have the vision and the direction you want to go into, and you have a goal that you want to accomplish, or like milestones. So if you accomplish them, how do you come up with new ideas that you want to execute?
Well, for new goals in this space, normally it's just, spend 18, 19 hours a day on Twitter, and then as soon as some cool new stuff happens, you see it and you're like, right, can we use that? Can we improve that? So even just recently, Owl from Cyberkongs, the dev there, has released a Guardian contract, which is effectively on-chain two-factor authentication. You can set it up so that you can have your NFT in a hot wallet, but you can only move it or do certain things with it if you then sign a transaction from a different hardware wallet, which means you can use it in a game, but you can't be scammed out of that NFT unless you go to your hardware wallet that you've locked away, and you put somewhere far enough away that while you're walking to it, you think, should I really be doing this? Is this person really not stealing my ape? So you just got to be ready for whatever that new next thing is. I think NFT worlds have changed that as well. Just because they're building effectively on the most played game in history, Minecraft. They're sort of the underlying layer, the battle hardened code that's underneath it. They've added their own token, and they're allowing communities to come around a game, effectively, the game that has to be built by the devs. So that's another angle. Lots of projects now are building a game in NFT worlds, or all of these different sort of ones they're building up. But in it, I guess the answer is always different for different projects, because they will all have their own little different goals. And for us, it's to use that NFT to the best of its ability. So I do think the ENS thing that I'd mentioned earlier, I think that's one of the greatest NFT utilities at the moment. And it is kind of confusing to me why everyone isn't copying us. Like, I would just expect people to see it. I know we're quite small. Like, I'm not deluded that, we're one of the projects that people will be keeping eyes on all the time. But it should have. I feel like it should have twigged in a couple of founders' minds. Maybe it's just not high up their priority list and it's on their to-do list or whatever. But really, whatever the project is building to. So if it's a story, we've seen with cyber brokers, they've had missions over the past week every day, and that's built up to a reward, which I think is a mecha arm, but that's clearly then building to something. So there's some kind of story going on there. Bored Apes are coming out with their land. Azuki did their in real life check your wallets drop. Doodle's going down the non-dilutive get everyone in somehow route, which is going to be very interesting to see how they do that. So it's just all these projects coming up with their own ways to bring value to their community. And when there's a winner, I think we'll see a lot of people following.
All right. By the way, do you think is the biggest advantage of holding a .pcc.eth domain? Like, what makes you so confident that you're wondering yourself why other founders haven't?
It's not .pcc.eth, it's .anything.eth. So I'm not saying .pcc.eth is the greatest thing ever. I'm saying the concept itself is great. For example, we see new BAYC, new Azuki, founders every day. They're all verified. They're all tagging us on Twitter. If their username was .bayc.eth, something.bayc.eth, that would be on-chain verification that they're real. It's a bit like the hexagon on Twitter, but it's a username. So it will cut out that sort of scamming, and you don't need to ask them for their wallet. So if you're doing a deal with someone that's pretending to be a whatever.bayc.eth and they say, oh, actually send it to this other wallet, that should set off alarm bells, because they've publicly said this is their wallet. Why are they wanting to send this somewhere else? It's clearly a scam. And it's just the other integration as well. So we're going to be able to give people a slight nudge to use .pcc.eth on Discord and Twitter. And that itself is powerful marketing for a project like us. It would be even bigger for a bigger project. If suddenly you have, like, there's no doubt in my mind that if Bored Apes did it, there'd be 4,000 people on Twitter with .bayc.eth within a week. And
Yep.
just seeing those all over Twitter, the ability to search ape follow ape would be so much stronger. And right now, NFTs are marketing, really, when we get down to it.
But why would I not be able to just change my username, for example, also to I don't know, to valerio.bayc.eth? Like
But
you
that
don't.
wallet won't work.
But for Twitter, to change your username, you don't need to link it to your wallet, right? It's only for the hexagon profile pic.
I'm fully expecting some form down the line with Twitter of verification. So you know how they've recently added the links with the little blue ticks if they're a real link. They verify that links aren't a scam.
All right. I'm not sure if I knew about this.
It's pretty new. It's a few days. I've just got Twitter open, so I'll just send you.
I haven't seen
I'll
it as well.
send it on Discord. Just next to links, there's a green circle with a white tick in it, and I fully expect they are able to verify that an NFT, you own an NFT, and it shouldn't be too much of a leap for them to be able to verify that you own a subdomain. So I think very quickly that will become a searchable proof of ownership, because you can only have that if you own, for us, you can only have .pcc.eth if you own a Penelope, and you cannot fake, like with an NFT, you can just mint a Bored Ape and get a hexagon. You can just mint it on OpenSea, just a picture of it. It's obviously fake, but Twitter will verify it because it's an NFT.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with .pcc.eth, you cannot verify that. The only way to verify it is by actually having it. So when their version of a hexagon, be that a tick or, I don't know, a colorful semicircle around it or something like that, that will be sort of the gold standard of not getting scammed, I think.
All right, interesting. So basically, you think that in some time that it's possible to change your username? I mean, similar to the profile pic, right? Where you connect to your wallet, and then obviously the domain. I mean, it's everything on chain, right? So it's easy to prove and verify if you actually own it, and then you're actually able to change your username to whatever ETH you own, whatever domain you own, similar to the profile pic. All right.
And that's sort of short-term thinking as well. If you go, long-term pie in the sky, which often people talk about when thinking about NFTs, logging into your email with your subdomain, your web-free version of email, whatever that is, logging into Facebook, Instagram, even Twitter itself, this could be done via your wallet. And your wallet is your subdomain. It's not. It's how your wallet's represented, I guess. But you will be logging in as this subdomain for everything in the long term.
Yeah. I mean, it's very interesting because I was always asking myself, I could just, as you said earlier, I could just control S like a board ape, right? Save the picture and just mint it, and then I own the NFT. It's not the official one, but I still own the NFT and can upload it to as a hexagon on Twitter. And on the first site, it's a board ape, right? And I don't think I don't think everyone actually clicks on it and then scrolls down and checks if all right, it's the official collection and stuff. Usually it's just the first site, right? People are kind
I've
of lazy, I
literally
guess.
I have never checked a hexagon ever.
You've never?
I didn't
I
even know you. I didn't know you could. So now I'm having to scroll and have a
Yeah,
look.
yeah. I did a couple of times, but I don't think I think I'm the minority. But yeah, I mean, most people are lazy, so that they'll just see the board ape and they're like, all right, it's the official one. But that's super cool actually. I've never thought about that. Wow. So I guess we'll see it soon that other projects start implemented something like this.
We're already kind of alpha, I guess. We're already confirming real Twitter usernames. We have a bot coming. I haven't actually. No one in the community knows, so this is fresh info for them. But there's a bot coming that will check Discord, check Twitter, and check the subdomains registered. And if they all match, you will be able to get a role in the Discord. And also, there'll be a leaderboard that shows how many of these verified people you follow. So, in a way, you're pushing, ape follow ape. There's no reason to put that tweet out because we literally have this leaderboard showing who we're incentivizing people to go and follow the rest of the community. And that just, pretty much the outside image of your NFT project right now is all about Twitter. And this is
Yep.
just a very powerful way to get your community interacting more on Twitter. Every community with this would interact more. So
For sure, yeah.
our percentage, might be quite small and we're starting from a small place. But again, as a concept, if Doodles did this, how much would that
Hmm.
explode their community, these sort of things.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I don't know, Conrad, if you have anything to add here, but do you?
No. I just wanted to move to another topic if we're done with it.
I would like to talk a little bit about the background first. Is that fine with you,
Sure.
Conrad?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, it's fine.
All right. Yeah. So your background, Carlini. So you said you got into crypto 2013, started mining on your gaming PC. How old were you at that time? 2013?
If I had to guess, it was probably 2014 I was mining. I was in that house 2013 to 2015, and it was probably in the middle. 2014, I was 24.
24.
It's easy. I just add 10 to whatever year we're in.
All right. And like, what background did you have before that? Do you have a college degree? Do you come from a technical background?
So I went to uni and I did maths and biology. After I graduated, I went to a DNA testing company using the biology side of things for a few years. But while I was there, I started gambling in my spare time, and it was gambling with it started off as something called match betting, where you kind of play the odds, and no matter what happens, you make a profit. You bet on every outcome, and I could talk about that for hours. But in a way, I gambled for a living in a way that is mathematically viable. I wasn't a DJ. I was actually running a business, and that got so big that I was actually losing money going to work. So I had to say to my boss, like, look, I'm sorry, I've got to quit. I kept getting like promoted and moved up.
All right, but wait. Again. You need to go more into detail. So that was after graduating college, uni, and then working for a DNA company, and then next to that you started gambling, match betting. What exactly? How does it work?
So I guess in a quick rundown is gambling companies want you to gamble with them. There's a lot of competition to gamble. So they want you to pick them over any of their competitors. So they give you an offer. Hey, deposit £100 and we'll give you £100 of fake money. And you have to do a certain amount of gambling until you can withdraw any money. So I used the math side of things to figure out, right, is this offer worth doing? So I've put in £100. I now have £200, but I have to gamble £2,000. So I worked out if I would make money doing that. And normally they would make it profitable for you, because even without you thinking about it, if you were just gambling on random stuff, they're making it so that you should win originally, you get hooked, and then eventually you give it all back and more to them. So that's their play. So they effectively try and make you win early, hook you in. I mean, it's a horrible practice. It has really destroyed some lives. But if you just take the good part of that offer, if you take the bit where they're making it so that you should win and then leave, and then repeat with another company, and then repeat with another company, and then just keep going. And that was effectively where it all started, and then that grew into quite a big business.
All right.
I quit my job in 2015 and was a gambler until effectively COVID.
So how much
Really?
were you making per month as a professional gambler?
It did vary based on, December was always a good month because companies would put out effectively advent calendars where every day they would put out an offer. And it was really busy because you had to go through all the sites and figure out which company had actually put out a good offer and which one had put out a terrible offer. Because they weren't all, just because they were offers didn't mean they were worth doing. And also throughout the time period, I got progressively better at it, but at the same time, the gambling companies made it harder and harder. So it was like always a battle to innovate and sort of move on. At my peak, I was probably making £50,000 a month.
Decent score.
How many dollars are that approximately?
70,000. 50K in pound. 65. Almost exactly 65. And that's because that's gambling as well. In the UK, gambling is tax-free, which is a shame that crypto and NFTs aren't classed as gambling. Because I tell you, if you're listening, Boris or Rishi, I am gambling here.
And how many hours a day were you working on your gambling business?
It was quite a lot. So I was in the mindset that I wouldn't get another opportunity like this in life, and I really had to, really grasp it while I could. So I was working, most of the time. Before I had kids, it was, the only other thing I really did was spend time with my wife and sometimes go out. And then when I had kids, I did it less because I spend more time with them. That's another good thing. I was always at home to help out and see them. But yeah, the mindset was work all the time. Obviously, I had lazy periods, but I just wanted to go for it while I could. But slowly, NFTs kind of took over. So I was gambling during 2017 NFTs, 2018 NFTs, 2019 NFTs, because the money just wasn't really there. Like the NFT market you guys have experienced, I would have never kept gambling if that was what it was like. It was so bad that I was making money gambling to put into NFTs because I believed in NFTs, but I was not making money in NFTs.
I mean, it makes sense for you to squeeze out everything you could, but at what point and how did you find about the crypto? Because if you're working all the time, like how did you find it?
I found it when I found gambling-ish, when I found match betting, because I was also, I don't even really fully know how I found match betting. So I did the match betting concept on my own just before I sort of found it. I did it and I was like, this should be a thing. So I kind of went looking, found it, and at the same time, people were using Bitcoin to move money around. So I'd done some research into crypto. But the thing about crypto then is you could only really to make money, there were three ways. You could trade, and I was not a trader, and trading takes losses to learn. You could found, and I just found crypto. I couldn't build something or raise any money or do anything like that. Or you could just hold it, and that's just parking money, and you're always just hoping it goes up. Obviously, you can go back in time and know it goes up, but there wasn't any opportunity like there is now where you can take Ethereum, do stuff with it, and have more Ethereum. Like that's generally what people in the NFT space are doing. They're trying to make ETH, which you couldn't do back then. You couldn't, I mean, some people did, but it wasn't common. So I always knew of crypto, and a couple of these, I guess, match betting groups had like-minded people, and a couple of them were getting into crypto. So I can't remember. There was some I think weekly report that a couple of friends had bought into that we all spoke about every week, that sort of just kept our eye in, looking for possibilities, because we were mainly looking at it from a Bitcoin casino point of view, because if they started putting good offers on, all you have to do is make a Bitcoin address. It was almost unlimited free money, and unfortunately they never really brought in big offers.
Yeah.
And you said that right now someone can put ETH to make more ETH. So how do you exactly multiply ETH that you have? And how much do you need to start with? Because I think that's also an important question.
Well, it's really easy. All you do is you mint one Bored Ape for 0.08 ETH. Then you just hold it. You get you get a dog, a mutant, that's 30 ETH. You get ape. It's it's the NFT casino. That's what people are doing. And some people are very good at it and they're making a lot of ETH. And some people are just funding those people. But we do have lots of injection of Ethereum from people who truly believe in what they're buying. You have people spending hundreds or thousands of ETH on pieces that they truly believe will be worth lots in 10 years, in 20 years. When Gary Vee bought loads of punks for a lot of ETH, he's not looking to flip. He hasn't sold one. His punks are sitting there waiting for, when he's 80 and he can do something with them. Whereas the Ethereum he put in has gone to someone else to then go back into the casino. So these people are bringing in lots of Ethereum, the true believers, I guess, that is just pumping up other people's bags and letting people then spend that Ethereum in other projects and pushing it all up.
All right. And how do you choose a project that you want to flip? I mean, obviously, like it can vary a lot of things, like hype and team, etc. But if someone is looking to solely just make a lot of money quickly, what is your criteria?
Well, right now, I guess you've got to feel the hype that certain projects have for the sure things. For example, I can't remember what it's called. Moon Owls, the Kevin Rose one. I think it's minting at 2.5 Ethereum, and that certainly doesn't seem like it will be a bad buy. But getting onto that whitelist is hard, because everyone thinks it's free Ethereum. That sort of thing has a solid team behind it that have delivered multiple things in their life, and I'm sure that project would do well. Whereas on the flip side, you have a similar hype level for things like Pixelmon, and that was purely marketing. There was no team behind it. That was just a roulette spin that people effectively got wrong. Like some people actually did flip unrevealed before it was seen what the art looked like. But if you're telling people like how to make money, it needs to be the solid projects. And if you just know you want to degen, I guess, if you know that there's that possibility to lose, then what you have to do is secure your profits when you can. And the hard bit is looking back. I have owned many apes that I've sold, and I sold them at 5 ETH, 10 ETH, 15 ETH. And if you look back at those, it haunts you. I owned over 100 punks, and I sold them all, before they breached 10. And then obviously they went over 100. There is no one that has perfectly traded any NFT. So you just have to accept that you won't be perfect, and that you will, if you go pure degen, you're going to hold bags, but also you will get out of winners too early. There's just no two ways about it. I think mindset is a big thing here.
All right. Why did you say earlier that a mint price of 2.5 ETH doesn't sound like a bad buy?
Because of the project itself. Let me try and I can't fully. It's Moonbirds XYZ. So it's by Kevin Rose, and they founded Proof XYZ, which last time I checked, that the floor for that was 80 Ethereum. So there's a lot of hype going into it because of what they've already done.
Right.
And Kevin Rose has done a hell of a lot in his life, and his co-founder, I can't remember what his name is. I'm just trying to have a quick scroll to see if I can remember. I've listened to their spaces, but I can't remember his name. They've both done a lot of big deals, and like they could be retired if they wanted to be there. I think it's a good, if you have the opportunity, I think that should be bought, because it very much feels like, with the experience the team have, the hype around the project, and their ability, 2.5 ETH won't be where it stops, just comparing it to the other projects on the market at the moment.
Yeah. All right. If you're comparing the NFT, let's say the NFT casino, to what you did back almost 10 years ago, right? The gambling business. It was match betting, right? Match betting means you're betting on a match. It's a football match, or how do I understand it?
Well, just like in the simplest terms, a match bet would be betting on every outcome. So it doesn't have to be football, but if you're betting on football, you could bet on win, draw, and loss. But you bet on a win with whatever company you've just signed up to, which then will allow you to get a free bet from them. So they'll give you a fake £100, which you can then use late on a second bet, and then you lay the bet somewhere like Betfair, and a lay just means not. So you would bet on not win with Betfair, and you bet on a win with whatever company it is. But you can bet on tennis, is quite a common one. There are only two outcomes there. Even horse racing, people did it on the Grand National just the other day, because you could, if you cover every horse using this free money that they give you, you then have quite the result at the end. Although after about a year or so, I moved away from match betting, and it was actually the casino side of things, but it was in a match betting way, I guess. Running it, the maths was on my side, but you could go on bad losing runs.
All right. And you studied math, right? So I guess that helped you with the probability calculations, right?
A bit, but there were calculators, so it's not like I was doing stuff on the fly in my head.
All right.
I was more just keying stuff into spreadsheets, but just understanding how it worked. Quite a lot of people who made a lot of money doing this had no idea about the maths, and they quite often would
All
get
right.
scared after a few months of losing.
All right. Interesting. But it's still fair to say that you were some kind of genius, right? I mean, you still are, right? But not, now you're a NFT genius.
You're not allowed to say that yourself.
But we all know it.
No, I'm not even. I'm not book smart. So I'm just, I guess, internet smart. So I know my way around the internet.
Yeah.
Is what I'd say.
Did you watch the Netflix movie? There was like a Netflix movie where there was like a guy from college, where he was in like a US college and went to the math class, and he was like super good, and then the teacher like
It's just
created
21.
yeah
Chance.
21 and yeah,
Yeah.
and they played blackjack and stuff.
Yeah, I like
And
that film.
yeah, I mean that was super inspiring. They made tons of money and super
Lost it
smart
all.
guy and lost it all.
Yeah.
By the way, how did your boss react when you went to him and told him, "Nah, I'll
Well,
quit"?
I walked up to her and I said, can I have a word?" And her reply was, "Oh, good, you don't have a letter," because she was a client, so she knew how much I was making um, at the time. So like it wasn't a secret in the office or anything like that. And my reply to her was, "Oh, I need a letter, do I?" And she was like, "Oh no." So we went to the meeting room, and yeah, she knew it was coming and said
All right.
something along the lines of, "There's no amount of money I can offer you to keep you, is there?" And I said, "Not within your budget." And we're still friends. I still when did I leave? 2015. So we're coming up to 7 years, and I've had a meal with her this year. A couple of old work friends I still meet up with.
Yep. All right. So, I mean, my original question was, if you compare the NFT casino to the gambling business you did, where do you see connections? What did you learn? What learnings have you done previously with your gambling business? You know, maybe controlling your emotions, focusing on the math or on the rational thinking and stuff. What learnings did you make from your previous experience that you think or that you can share with the community that is interested in, let's say, the NFT casino?
It was mindset really, because gambling before was very mathematical. I knew that if I kept going, I should make money. It didn't mean that I would, because when you're doing things like to maximize EV, you take the whole amount of money. So, say I deposited £200 and I got a £200 bonus, I would put all £400 on one number on roulette, purely because that was mathematically the best way to do it. So, when you're just throwing away money until you hit, because there are 37 slots on a roulette wheel, so in theory I should hit 1 in 37, that takes a toll on you. If you just have a bad day, and it's very possible to go 100 without hitting, and you're just like, "Oh my, what a terrible day." You just always think, if I'd literally done nothing today, if I'd stayed in bed, I'll be so much richer than I am now. It's like, what a waste of my time. I've spent my time and my effort, and I'm down, and I've done exactly what I should. Now you can't do that in the NFT world, because buying something and expecting it to go up isn't maths. It's not a formula. It's not set in stone what should happen. It's more feeling. But what you can do is you can be in the right mindset that when crypto's dumping, like it is now, to just take a step back and really look, is crypto a thing? Are we actually going to still be here in 10 years? And yes, I very much think it's a certainty at this point, and I think NFTs are in that space. So if you can handle the ups and the downs of these main projects, but have teams that are staying, that are doing things that are going to be impactful in a few years, if you have the conviction, like the people I've known who have made the most in NFTs since 2017 are those that have gone for a project and made insane bets on them. So I know Pranksy very well. I got Pranksy into the space. I was in a Slack with Pranksy pre CryptoKitties in 2017, and Pranksy had 1,250 Bored Apes at one point, and sold most of them on the way up.
Jesus.
Made millions of pounds, and is credited for effectively very carefully selling them and helping not crush the community. Because if Franksy had just been like, right, let's list them all,
Yep.
one ETH, that wall just is never getting crossed. I don't think Bored Apes make it because the community wouldn't be as feel good as it was, because the community is strong, but it was weaker back then, obviously, and the growth helped strengthen them. And on the flip side, I'm also friends with Jimmy.eth, who held a couple hundred at the same time and sold less and still has maybe 80. And his conviction just led to, we're talking, it's a bit crazy here because we're talking retired for the rest of your life with an insane budget, and the difference between retired for the rest of your life at an insane budget and a couple of yachts. So it's a ridiculous gap, but it's also the minimum we're talking about is already huge. So the big winners when you look back are always those who buy into projects that they believe in and stick with them. Cocoa Bear is someone else. Snowfro, I tried to get him to sell a CryptoPunk zombie, for I think it was 40 Ethereum, when Ethereum was maybe $800. It was something like that. And I was like, look, you need to sell. You've got 30 of them. And he was going to spend it on real estate, which eventually ended up being a staging place for art blocks. So I think he's still happy with the sale because of where it led. But he had so many zombie punks, and it was so hard for me to convince him to sell one for, at the time, the highest sale ever. That these people just have the conviction and they stick to it and they make lots of money. I can't tell anyone if that sort of time period is over. I can see quite easily an NFT being worth, a floor of 1,000 Ethereum very long term. I can't tell you what one that's going to be. Obviously, apes are currently leading the charge, and they're your safest bet. But is that how you make lots of money now? I'm not sure.
All right. By the way, talking about apes, I heard that that you thought that the launch of the ape token, that you didn't think Yuga made a good job on that. Am I right?
I don't like that the apes don't yield the token. Yes, I think we're releasing our own token for Penelope's Country Club, and I think about token hours a day, and I have for maybe 4 months at this point, maybe even 5 or 6. And I much prefer an NFT that yields a token because you're adding value to the NFT. At this point, apes have two things. They have the ape token and they have the NFT. And in my mind, the token is taking away value from the NFT. But the question here is, can they use the funds they raise from the token to offset that loss for apes? And for them, they probably can. They can use the funds to build enough for apes, but I don't think anyone else can. So if anyone copies them, that's a problem. And historically, everyone copies apes. Like there's just no two ways about it. Someone will try and copy them, and they won't launch on every exchange at the same time. The first token ever to do that. they won't have these backings providing the liquidity early on or have the funds to do that, and they will just tank their whole project with a token that ultimately people don't want. For instance, Bored Apes hasn't launched Ape with utility. That just doesn't work for any other project. That you need utility out the gate, or it's not going to work. Or it's an uphill battle, I guess, at that point. It's much easier to launch with utility than to launch without it and then try and catch up.
Yep.
So how would you launch your own token right now? What would be like the exact steps you would take, and what would be the utility for the token itself?
Well, the first step is to do it legally. So I can't launch it in the UK. So the token is going to be launched in the British Virgin Isles. There is a company already set up. So I've got the paperwork within arm's reach. When did this? The 15th of December, it was launched. So that just shows how far back we were thinking about it. So we can legally launch the token. Most tokens aren't launched legally. And I think that will be a big problem for projects as well, because like I've said earlier, the team is the important bit. When teams are coming, if you're successful, you bring more light onto your project. And when it's eventually found out that a token wasn't launched legally and the team is pursued, they might abandon the project or they might go to prison. They're not going to keep working on this illegally launched token.
Yep.
So step one is to launch it legally, which is all sorted. And step two is to provide the utility. So what I've done is I've looked at a lot of other projects that have done similar things. So Cyberkongs, for example, have a yielding token, and it was very successful with them breeding babies. Subducks had Vault, and that went well with the snack shop that they had. So we'll be launching our tier twos, which is effectively our mutant or our Meebit, that sort of level of the community. And that will be purely in token. So you can only receive that with token. So people will be using it to gain that. Long term, we'll want it in our NFT world.
James, can you quickly clarify what you mean exactly by a yield token?
So just normally every day you get a little trickle of the token. So it builds up over time, effectively.
So instead of getting how much did I get? Like 20,000 apes per Bored Ape, right? So instead of getting all 20,000, you should get them like on a schedule, right? Like daily or something.
Yes, so slowly release it, because if you have all of the tokens you're going to get up front, they did, they sent a lot to the DAO, and the DAO is voting on some sort of token yielding, but they're doing it where you lock up ape to get it, and the NFT counts as a key. It's a little tricky to talk about now, because something was proposed and then the apes voted it down, and now something new is being proposed and we're not sure if it's actually going to happen yet, so we don't actually know how they're doing it. But their airdrop, for example, wasn't a big percentage. I don't have the figures in front of me right now, but it was maybe 20% was the airdrop, 40% was the DAO, and then the rest went to Yuga, a charity, partners, and the team, I think.
Yeah.
One more thing I would like to touch on, aside from token, is a team, which you mentioned a lot during this episode. So how do you build a really good team that will stay with you for a long time? And my second question would be, how much money do you need upfront? Because no one really talks about salaries for teams. So like, if you'd like to start your own project, how much would you need to pay them on a monthly basis?
Well, that's That's tricky because when you start bringing in this sort of space, people can be from anywhere, right? You don't have to hire around you. You don't have to hire in the US. You don't even like none of the Penelope's team. There isn't an office. We don't meet up. Everyone's remote. So the team could, in theory, be from anywhere. And what you need to do is you need to make sure you get the right people in the right places. But that doesn't that's more about their skills. So you need your community manager to have Web3 experience, for example. You need your community manager to know about NFTs because that's who they interact with. You can't have them looking like a complete noob in front of your community. Whereas, say, your website dev doesn't need to. They can just be a really good website dev from Web2. So there are certain roles where you can pull in Web2, and there are certain roles where you really need Web3. And there are some that you can kind of cross over. For example, marketing. You you probably need at least one person in your marketing team who knows about Web3 and is experienced in it. But a really good marketer from Web2 world or just, anywhere can then come in and bring ideas to help grow your project that way. Salary wise, it's you you want to pay people well. You'll be looking at high end pay. Certain roles are very tricky to get. Now you can even a Solidity dev. What you can do is find a dev in Web2 to learn Solidity because depending on your projects, there's a lot they can look at. So if you're just doing a 10K PFP, for example, they can look at our project or Apes or Doodles and look at their contract because it's all open source and see how to do it themselves. And then after enough time, they become, if you've got someone who really wants to better themselves, they can then learn enough over that time because in reality, there aren't really, the best Ethereum devs haven't been doing it 10 years because Ethereum isn't 10 years old. It's more about how quickly people learn and how willing they are to learn.
And it's cheaper like that, right? It's cheaper getting a Web2 dev learn Solidity instead of hiring a Web3 dev.
It's
right?
also easier, yeah, because there are more of them than there are that already know Solidity. And the issue with Solidity devs is they know how much your NFTs are going to sell for. And that then makes it quite tricky. Especially if you're mainly putting back into the community. So like I think we sold out for $3 million, I think it was when you at the time, and multiply it all out, the 800 if we took in. That, maybe 10% of that has gone on salary. It's without probably it would be more than 10%, just thinking about it quickly for a second. But it's not a huge chunk. Most of it has gone back in and none of it has gone into anyone's pocket. So you need a team that will understand it is a company. And most Web2 people coming into Web3 would see it as that. Whereas if someone's been in NFTs quite a long time, they might have seen, Pudgy Penguins. They minted out and sent all the Ethereum to their own private wallets, which was a bit crazy at the time. And for me, that's a bit of a red flag. And they went on to then sell the project to someone else a few days ago. So finding a team is hard. You're best off building friends first, building a friendship group, thinking who's in, who actually wants to be in this, what their skills, place them in the right place, and then go and find what you don't have. You'll never be able to get a group of friends that have everything. Bored Apes, for example, went and found the artists. They didn't even have the ability to create this art that has become so monumental. They hired in 3 or 4 artists for that. So you just got to play to your strengths and find what you can. And in reality, to find, you can either change your name on Twitter to is hiring. I see that a lot, so I assume it works. That's not what I did. Or Discords. We found our website 2.0 people just because in one of the channels, one of the Discords has a NFT builders channel, and they just posted, "Hey, we're web devs, just looking to do some things," and I contacted them, and that's sort of how that connection was made. So it's just being active, sort of living and breathing the project, I guess.
All right. Can you still do that now? Or what would now be the best and most efficient way to find devs, to find artists, to find the different people for your team?
If you're looking to launch soon and you've already got, a couple of crypto NFT friends, for artists, honestly, I'd go to Instagram. I'd scroll Instagram. I'd put in some kind of art hashtag. I'd scroll until I find some art that looks great, and I'd message maybe 20 people of great looking art. Have some sort of pitch message that's like, "Hey, we're looking to build this. We're looking for an artist. We'd like to." What I'd say to them is, "Look, we're looking to have someone involved. We want an artist who will continue to work on this. You'll probably be skeptical of NFTs because everyone outside of NFTs hates NFTs, is pretty much how it goes. So I would say, look, I'm willing to listen to all your concerns. Artists will probably have the two main concerns of selling stolen art, which is better than the real world, which is very annoying because you only know the art is getting sold because of the NFT. And it's not most NFTs, and it's no successful NFTs. And the environment, which you can then talk about. The merge is coming, and that will make Ethereum so much better than painting on a canvas and shipping it across the world. And then get them involved. Have them as a co-founder. Don't say, I mean, if you want to make as much money as possible, what you do is you basically screw over the artist and you say, "Yeah, we'll do a fixed fee," and you do that. But my artist is, well, I have more now, but at the time I said, "Look, full-time job, salary, come on in." There was no sort of percentages because we're not splitting it. We weren't minting and then splitting the cash. But if you just say, "Look, you're a co-founder, you're in," eventually you'd find an artist that way. I think.
All right, cool. How did you pay your artist a salary if you didn't launch your project yet? Just with your own money, or?
Yeah, so I'd said to these two guys that I'd fund it for a year already because I was in NFTs and NFTs had gone crazy and I'd sold quite a few and I had money set aside. So I'd put some money aside, and in my head that was for this project. And when that run out, it was over, I guess. So this was a bet on the project working, and if the money ran out, that was that, I guess.
All right.
Yeah, but
I
if
see.
you take someone on a percentage, then you're like sure that they'll be very involved and that they believe in the project itself.
That's
And
the
be
thing.
committed. Yeah.
Yeah, and an artist who will be working on it more than, right, can you make this 10k PFP for me, and then when it's done, that's done. But if the artist is in, they could make the 10k PFP, and then they could start work on some marketing material to go on Twitter, and then they can start working on your secondary product, or just fun stuff where your profile picture project is in a scene, and build up the lore because they truly believe in the project, because they're in the project. It's just a lot better that way.
All right. So I'm trying to recap for our listeners. So to find an artist, you suggest going to Instagram and then search for a specific hashtag. Do you maybe have a short example of a hashtag?
Well, it depends what you're going for. I was looking for. I actually found an artist this way, not for our project, but for something specific within the project. and I think it was building art, because I was looking for sort of landscape and that sort of
All
thing.
right.
So it really, like if you're doing a seal project, should try just hashtag art and look at the recents, but maybe seal art or animal art, or I don't know if those hashtags are real. Just get a bit creative around what you're looking for the artist to do,
All right.
and you should be able to find it.
All right.
And
All
like
right,
just a
cool.
quick tip, if you want one profile, you can just press the arrow button next to the follow button, and you'll have a drop down of similar profiles. So like you'll have suggested similar ones.
Smart
Nice.
move, Conrad.
I did not know that. I'm a bit of an Instagram noob.
All right, and then have your pitch message ready and send them a nice pitch and stuff. What about devs though? I mean, I assume Web3 devs are like the Web3 job with the highest demand but the lowest supply. Am I right?
It very much seems that way. I've seen a couple people claiming on Twitter that it's good community managers,
Oh, really?
and I guess that's hard to quantify because they're very much saying good.
Yeah.
So, what does that mean? People will have a
Define good.
different
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Exactly. So if you had to go and find like one a Web3 dev right now and a community manager now, what would you do it and yeah.
I think I would try and pull a community manager from a community I was already in. So an active Discord that I'm in, I would try looking for. I think I just already know by being in the Discords a couple of people who I think have the potential to do the job well, and I'd kind of rank them and speak to them in that order, I guess. Dev. I I I just knew one. That's that's my problem. I knew a dev who I think I was in a Discord with them, and I was saying like I'm trying to find a Web3 dev. It's really hard, not sort of fishing, but just sort of in general. And they were like, I could try it. I was like, okay, you think so? And he was like, yeah, it won't be hard. I'll just read some contracts and go
All
from
right.
there. And they basically just read loads of contracts and got used to the language and figured it all out. Web2 devs.
But I guess like GitHub is big for devs, right? Or Reddit and because I heard some people just post on Reddit or go to communities on Reddit. And that's but yeah. I mean, if you know a specific thing you would do right now to get a dev, you can tell it. If not, it's fine.
I'd ask my dad if he knew any devs because he's a dev. The issue is he's not really motivated by money. He's motivated by enjoying his job. So I don't think I could convince him to do it. He just doesn't care about NFTs enough. But I could ask him to find me a dev from work or something like that, or from a past job. Who's a good dev, And so obviously that doesn't. If your listeners want to call my dad, his number's 07.
Yeah, it'll be useful because when you said that you need a Web2 dev and to learn, like to make him learn Solidity, it sounds like super hard task. Because what do you say? Like you approach him and say, "Hey, I'm gonna build this project. I need you for it." Like all you have to do is learn Solidity, and that's it. It sounds like impossible.
To us, it sounds really hard, but from the devs I've spoken to that have learned it, they've said it's not too tricky. Like if they're generally a good dev, I think they should be able to make the basic leap that you need to launch a project. They should be able to do that quite easily. If you're
But
then
how do you
looking to
motivate them?
do, well, it's
money, or is it the mission, the vision?
everyone will be different, but it'll be the same way as the artist. I try and get them properly in, to join your vision. You're going to need a reason for this project. Like, what are you doing differently that is going to,
stand out.
Why are people going to care about your project?
Yeah.
You need to
Yeah.
convince them that you can actually mint out and get the funds to make this into a proper job.
All right, cool. I see. Thank you, Carlini. I think that was some fire advice for all our listeners. Very, very valuable. The last thing before we leave you go, it's something I always love to talk about. Why do you like? I mean, you talked about Bitcoin first, right? And how you like how you prefer Ethereum than Bitcoin, because you can build applications, or you can build stuff on Ethereum. But what's your point of view on the topic of the decentralization? Because that's something that I am concerned, and that's also what I focus a lot. And decentralization is important for me, right? And Bitcoin is just way more decentralized than Ethereum, for example. So that's why I'm a little bit. I mean, of course, Ethereum 2.0 is coming out, and the merge will be great. And but how do you see the point of the decentralization, that the Ethereum guys, the boys from the foundation, are holding almost 70% of the tokens and stuff? And I mean, we just went from proof of work to proof of stake, right? Like that,
For
basically.
me, it's a level of scale. Like decentralization isn't yes or no. Like Bitcoin is more decentralized, but it isn't completely decentralized because someone can set up. It's just a matter of tech, right? If you have enough mining power, Bitcoin isn't decentralized because you have enough to 51% attack or whatever. It's just a different level to Ethereum. It is more decentralized, but for me, I'm not personally too worried because Ethereum is far more decentralized than
Solana.
what we already have. Yeah, well, than Solana. Yeah, Solana's just a Google spreadsheet in my mind. So it's about as decentralized as my organizational spreadsheets. Unless Sam, you're listening and you want to invest in PCC, then it's the most decentralized token in the world. It's the best, and I love it. If you're not, it sucks. No, I'm very surface level on Solana, and the surface level seems to be it turns off all the time and it runs on about 4 PCs. But for me, Ethereum is decentralized enough, and I guess what I care about more is the stuff on it. So you can read, everything is open source. Well, most things that people interact with are open source and they can be checked. And you have people like Quit going through contracts when they're launched and telling everyone what's in them. And it's that level of openness that is more important to me, because that will matter to the users. Like what we're doing is changing everyday life in a more simple way. Whereas Bitcoin, I guess you could argue, will have a huge effect because it depends how, doom and gloom you are on the whole economy of the world. But if you're not on that side of the scale, if that isn't a huge worry for you, which, people argue it should be your main worry. For me, personally, I don't think it will get there. I'm sure, we'll be sent loads of links and do your own research and all this stuff about how I should have hundreds of Bitcoin because the world's going to hell. But I guess living in my nicer, happier bubble of where we don't think governments are trying to kill us off in a great reset, the fact is we can't scam each other as easily on Ethereum in more everyday life. So Ethereum is more decentralized than what we have now, so it is better. And it doesn't matter to me that there's something even more decentralized because you can't do stuff with it, I guess.
All right. I mean, I think it's Bitcoin and Ethereum, they have two different use cases. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah,
mean,
they're not
it's
competing in any way.
exactly. We cannot put them. We cannot compare them and try to make them compete each other. I mean,
They compete
Bitcoin.
on CoinGecko, and that's about it.
Exactly. All right. Yeah. Cool. Thank you so much, Conrad. Do you have any questions still?
No, I've asked all I wanted to ask. So yeah, thank you very much, Carlini, for joining us today. It was a pleasure talking to you.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
It was an amazing podcast, man. It was super insightful and valuable, and I'm sure the community can learn a lot from what you shared.